I come from a very rich academic background, and I guess that's a nice way of saying I've studied a lot of different fields. I have 4 degrees in 4 very different areas. I have a business degree, I have an arts degree, I have a public health degree, and I have a political science degree. So you could probably imagine how on earth can you knit these fields together? And for most of my life, I didn't even have an answer for that. I just, was following my interests, and that took me from one area to another to another. But recently I've been reflecting a lot on how those fields kind of are, how I use that background in my work today. As I said, none of these fields have much in common. They were just areas of interest for me. So I studied everything from maternal health to entrepreneurship to universal design. These are kind of the specific areas that I focused on. And when I took my first degree, it was really at the recommendation of my mom. She said, Anthony, you should study business because it'll give you the most flexibility. And being young and not knowing much about the world, I said, okay, yeah, that sounds good, Mom, whatever you think is the best. So I started doing a business degree and eventually got a job after I graduated in banking. And it was during that time period that I discovered a real love and passion for music. So then I decided, let's start an art degree. And I started studying music, and I studied everything from ethnomusicology, which is the study of music of indigenous cultures, to archaeomusicology, which is kind of like music history plus. And then I studied opera and musical theater and just about everything in between. It was at the end of my studies that I was offered a theater scholarship. I had acted in a couple of plays, and the theater department took notice, and they offered me a scholarship to study theater as part of my arts degree. And I took a completely different path. I turned down the scholarship and I moved to Philadelphia, took a job at a university, and started studying public health. It was just a turning point in my life because I realized that what I was doing and what I kind of was interested in, where my passion and motivation were in different places. And so taking a degree in public health wasn't by design. It was just because there was a part of my professional career when I was focusing in on music and performance that left me dissatisfied in some extent to some degree, and I decided there was something else out there for me that I wanted to pursue. So I moved to Philadelphia, started this new job, started studying public health, and I took classes in everything from epidemiology, study of diseases, to HIV/AIDS pandemic issues, to public health law and policy, and just about everything in between. By the end of my studies, I had discovered a real passion for research, a real passion for science, and especially health sciences, which kind of take a different view on this scientific inquiry. I imagined that my next career move would just be moving further into those fields to continue studying health, studying maternal health more because that was one of my interests, or health policy because that was another interest. I was looking for something really specific in my next job opportunity. I wanted it to be research and I wanted it to be in the health field. But what I found, what I ended up discovering, was a completely new field of study, political science, and a completely dramatic career change once again. So I moved to Norway, I started studying political science, and I started doing research in technology, accessibility, and human rights. So that was an introduction to a new field of study. I started looking at things like government and governance, and started looking at the way laws and policies are created and enacted and implemented. And around the time when I was finishing my doctorate, and this is maybe 20 years after I started my career, I began to connect the dots between my experience studying business, my experience studying arts and public health, and my experience now studying political science and looking at issues around technology and equality and all these other fields that I care about. So the way I see it is my business experience really helped me understand the kind of financial and economic triggers that help businesses focus in on more impactful activities. So it really gave me a new framework for understanding the way we can create impact in society using fundamentals of business and, to a certain extent, capitalism and things like that. My degree in arts, and especially my work as a performing musician, really helped me create impact of my own, because when I would go to conferences and present my research, I had a grounding in performance. So I knew how to kind of engage an audience, how to put forth my work in a way that was understandable, relatable, and helped kind of enhance the performative aspects of what I was there to do. And it's also helped me now with this podcast, because when I'm writing the episodes and I'm thinking about the topics to cover, I'm thinking of it through the mind or through the lens of a performer. So it's not just about what I'm talking about, it's how I am bringing that message across. And in my public health degree, helped ground me in marginalized communities, help showcase why marginalized communities and empowering them matters so much, which is one of the most fundamental elements of my job now. And in my degree in political science really took me to the kind of highest possible levels of understanding to see the different structures and value systems and the way different laws and policies kind of affect the daily experience of all of us. So I think this work, this kind of body of academic effort, has changed the course of my career, because it's given me a diverse range of experiences to draw upon. And now I'm an academic, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a science communicator, I do a lot of work in innovation, and this has really fed that work, has fed it to a really significant degree. And it's opened up an immense amount of opportunities for me professionally and personally to continue to develop, because it's not a matter of me focusing in on one area and only that area to preclude all other options, but rather opening up a diverse range of options and selecting for the option that fits what I want and what I care about the best. It's really opened up new trajectories that I did not think would be possible without it. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with focusing in on one single career path. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with studying something, graduating, and getting a job in that field and just pursuing that the rest of your life. If that's what works for you, or that's what you want to do, by all means do it. But I think there's a lot of people who feel an immense amount of pressure to do that one thing, to have it figured out when you graduate high school, to study it in college or university, to move into that field in your professional life, and to do nothing but that. And I think it's a huge fallacy, because you miss out on so many engaging and enriching opportunities that can help direct and channel your efforts and energies into fields that really, really matter to you, that really make a difference. So I think if you're feeling that pressure, try to find where your motivation lies and stay true to yourself so that you see what could be possible and you try to find your way into that line, into that professional career path. Always make sure that you're taking care of your basic needs. I mean, throughout my career, I never had an opportunity to just study at university. I was always working, most of the times multiple jobs, just so I had my basic needs taken care of. And if that happens, and if that's your situation or your experience as well, that's fine. Take care of those basic needs. But beyond that, once you've gotten past your basic needs, explore whatever field you want. Feel the liberty and the openness to actually be able to tackle new areas of interest that are, at that moment, captivating you. It may or may not make sense now. Your career path you may not be able to look at it and say, oh, wow, that all kind of adds up. It may make complete nonsense. When I was studying my arts degree and I was looking at my business degree previously, it made no sense for me to be in that field. And of course, going into public health, then it still made no sense. But after a while, I started to connect those dots and I was able to draw on more perspectives, different experiences, and it's really changed my life.